Emilia Perez. Now, this movie has turned into the lightning rod for scandals when it comes to this award season. And that started with just people's opinions on the film, and then it kind of turned into all sorts of stuff about behavior on the internet and in interviews. So, when you put this one in last, you really do have to put some clarifiers on it as to exactly what you mean, because you can find no shortage of think pieces on how this is the worst Best Picture nominee of all time, how it's overrated, how it's a complete disaster. And so when I put it in last, I don't think it's any of those things. I found it to be an interesting movie that did a bunch of things I've never seen before. It held my attention, but also I don't think that this particular experiment and combination of plot points and genres fully worked for me. On the positive, I went into it not really knowing what it was at all. All I'd seen was the word drug cartel. That was it. And Zoe Saldana. That's all I knew going into the movie. And so she starts walking down the street and her arms start kind of moving a little bit rhythmically. She starts talking on the beat and it breaks into song. That's how I discovered it was a musical, watching the film. And simply the way that it incorporates the musical numbers into the film, the way that it does the choreography, the way that it sometimes kind of goes into these surrealist sort of dreamlike sequences and transitions back into a dramatic scene. I haven't seen a musical do something like that before, so I found it just kind of interesting to watch and was fascinated by the techniques used in the film. But when you start getting into the plot elements, the character works, the themes, there were a lot of issues. Like there's something in there that you go, okay, I see what you're going for, but it just doesn't really work, and I don't think that this was the plot mechanism to tell this type of story, where you have this cartel boss with a lifelong of regret, wanting to have a redemptive journey and using kind of the transition as a mechanism for life change. There's a lot of issues with what is communicated in that, the way that that's handled. In particular, where you have a character that's this violent, dangerous, awful person and becomes altruistic. There's a lot of concerns in what's kind of being done with that. And then kind of having this Mrs. Doubtfire-esque plot line with reconnecting with the kids. Just a very strange story that has some messaging in there that you go, what on earth are you trying to say? And is this actually representative of how these groups perceive of themselves? Like, there's a lot of things in there that had many issues with the story, the execution of it, the plot points, how it comes together. And this is even before we start getting into scandals, representation of cultures, people's Spanish, all of this different stuff.